Welcome to the Resistance.
Hey, welcome back to Gen X Resistance. I am your host, Paul Stevens, here to remind you that not everything needs an app, not every opinion needs a like button, and not every problem should be solved by Google. All right, today I'm going to talk to you about the difference between Gen X survival skills and modern crutches. We may be the last generation that actually had to figure stuff out without that glowing rectangle in our pocket. And I'm not saying that we were better. Okay, fine. I'm saying that we were better. Now, this isn't nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. It's about resisting the slow erosion of independence that happens when you let technology make every decision for you. So buckle up, because I'm about to take you on a trip when self-reliance wasn't an optional add-on feature. So back in the day, if you needed some information, general information, phone numbers, just if you needed to know something, we had options. And those options involved a little bit of effort. For news, you could watch the evening news at 6 or 10, or you could read the paper the next morning, the kind that left the black ink still on your fingers. You could go to the library, dig through the card catalog using the Dewey Decimal System and find answers inside of a book that weighed about 50 pounds. If you needed a phone number, it was the white pages for people or the yellow pages for businesses. It was just that simple. As the old ad used to say, let your fingers do the walking. Now today, we Google it. We skim through the first page of results and we call ourselves experts. Or we ask Alexa or the woman on the phone who shall not be named. Or my personal favorite, you watch a 30-second TikTok video from some guy claiming to be an expert who read half of a Wikipedia article. We have access to more information than we've ever had, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but somehow we seem to have less wisdom. And that's why we need to resist the urge to outsource our thinking. There aren't many original thoughts on the internet, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Mostly, they're just recycled opinions and algorithmic suggestions. Maybe turn off all that noise and turn your brain on. When we had to go somewhere, we didn't have turn-by-turn navigation with a polite British voice telling us when to merge. We had paper maps with coffee stains on them. We had directions scribbled on the back of gas receipts. Go past the Shell station. Take a left where the old Blockbuster used to be. And sometimes you got lost. And sometimes you found cool stuff that way when you got lost. I'll never forget one trip. I was 20 years old. My mom was battling cancer. She lived out in California. My brother and I, we lived here in Arkansas. We got a call a few days before Christmas, and it was 1994. And the call was, hey, you guys need to come up and you need to see Mom real soon. So we loaded up my 1990 Geo Metro. We tossed the old Rand McNally Road Atlas in the passenger seat, and we headed west. No cell phones, no GPS, just that Atlas, a couple of gas station snacks, and the stubborn determination of two 20-somethings on a mission. 1,700 miles later, we rolled into a small town in California just in time to see our mom before she passed away. After the funeral, we turned right around and we drove all the way back home. No satellite guidance, no recalculating, just grit, a map, and the road. Oh, and a ticket for not wearing my seatbelt just outside of Needles, California, but that's a different story. Today, people won't even drive across town where they lived all their lives without turning their maps on their phone. And if the signal drops, they freeze like a deer in headlights. We didn't need satellites or phones to survive a trip to the grocery store. See, that's resistance, not letting tech become your sense of direction. Wow, that statement could actually be a philosophical topic as well. Note to self for a later podcast episode. If your friends liked you back then, you knew because they laughed at your jokes and they just wanted to hang out with you. I had good friends in high school, some I still keep in touch with today. There was no social validation like there is now. There was real connection with real people. Now, validation is a scoreboard of likes and hearts and shares and retweets. Most of those from people you've never met or have very limited contact with. Your worth is literally measured in a metric that disappears in about 24 hours. We knew the value of real social currency, which was time, presence, and loyalty. Resisting this like economy means remembering that strangers online don't get a vote in your life. Now, remember when missing a call meant you just missed it? You'd come home, you'd see the blinking light on the answering machine, you'd listen, and you'd call back when you had some time. Nobody thought you'd been abducted if you didn't respond in 10 minutes. I used to have a podcast called Observation X. I did an episode on being unavailable and how much I really miss that. Because today we are electronically tethered to each other through text messages, DMs, group chats, emails, and whatever social media apps that you're using via messaging on those. Constant communication at all hours. And heaven help you if you leave somebody on read. I'm going to tell you, my phone goes on do not disturb every night. Resistance is about reclaiming the right to be unreachable. It's not rude. It's called living your life. TV shows used to be events. If your favorite came on, say, Thursday at 8 o'clock, unless you were one of the few who actually knew how to program a VCR, you made time to watch it. If you missed it, maybe you watched the rerun months later. Movies? You went to the theater or you waited for the VHS to come out. And if you waited for VHS, it was going to be a while, maybe even a full year, depending on the movie. Music? You bought the full album, the CD or the cassettes, like the artist intended. Now, every show, every movie, every song, instantly available. And yet people have multiple streaming platforms and they still say, and there's nothing on to watch. Now, I do like the way Apple TV releases episodes because you have to wait an entire week for a new one, and it kind of gives you something to look forward to. But if you want to truly resist, stop letting the algorithm tell you what to enjoy. Choose it for yourself, and maybe, just maybe, sit with it for a while instead of just swiping to the next thing. If you were hungry, you cooked, you went to the store, or you picked up takeout in person. Shopping meant walking into a store, trying things on, talking to people. Delivery meant pizza. Maybe Chinese food if you lived in a town that did that. I did not. And waiting for your food to arrive wasn't unusual. There was no app telling you that your pizza just got out of the oven or the driver just turned onto your street. Today we have DoorDash, Uber Eats, Instacart, Amazon. Basically anything you want at almost any hour, which is great until you realize that you've forgotten how to plan ahead or even leave the house. Resisting this means sometimes choosing the inconvenient way on purpose, because self-reliance is a muscle and it atrophies really fast. We used to memorize phone numbers, birthdays, addresses. Our brains were the contact list. I had so many phone numbers and addresses memorized. Important dates we wrote on a wall calendar. Maybe a Post-it note on the fridge. My Aunt Susie actually had a list of all of the birthdays taped to her refrigerator. Now, it's all on the phone. If someone loses the data on their phone, They may not even be able to call their mom. Here's the test. Try and make a phone call just by using the touchpad on your phone without looking for the number in your contact list or asking the woman on the phone to call the person for you. I bet you could do it for a couple of contacts, maybe the ones that are the closest to you, maybe, but I bet you don't get too far down that contact list before needing help. The resistance here is simple. Keep some of that stuff in your head. Your brain is not full, trust me. When something broke, you didn't hop online because there was no online. You rolled up your sleeves, you grabbed the toolbox, you got to work. There was no internet tutorial, no life hack article, no step-by-step video with some upbeat background music. Just common sense, a few tools, and maybe a quick chat with somebody who knew a guy or somewhat knew what they were doing. When I was about 22, so around 1996, I had an old 1977 Ford F100, 8-cylinder, 302, mint green. I loved that truck, but the transmission went out in it. I was not a mechanic, and I'm still not a mechanic. And I was also broke. My wife was going through nursing school, and I was working in an aluminum factory running a furnace. So my funds were a little tight. My uncle bought me a transmission from a salvage yard and said, "Look, kid, I bought it. Now you put it in." He handed me the book that told me what the parts were, lent me the tools. I took it apart, put it back together. After a couple of attempts, because the first transmission was bad, I finally got it to work. And the gratification and satisfaction I felt was amazing when I put that truck in drive and it actually went forward. It was awesome. And I will never forget the lessons I learned from that experience. Now there's a video tutorial from everything from fixing a sink to folding a fitted sheet. And I'm not knocking it. I use tutorials too. But when you've always got to walk through at your fingertips, it's easy to let your own problem-solving muscle get a little flabby. I see a lot of younger people today who hit a wall when they can't Google their way out of a jam. If there's no search result, no step-by-step guide, they freeze. And the anxiety kicks in hard. Problem-solving isn't just about having the right answer. It's about building the confidence to figure things out when there isn't one sitting in your pocket. If you had a rough day, you took a walk. You drove with the windows down. You sat in your room with your music and your thoughts. You talked to a friend in person. Today, we post self-care memes. Then we doom scroll for an hour and wonder why we feel worse afterwards. Resisting this one means remembering that mental health isn't a hashtag. It is work. And sometimes the most therapeutic thing is to unplug and go be somewhere. When we bought something, we used it. And then we decided if it was good. Word of mouth from our friends was the best review you could get. Now we have hundreds of Amazon reviews, influencer unboxings, star ratings, comparison apps. We've turned buying a toaster into some kind of research project. Resistance says, trust your judgment. You don't need the hive mind's permission to buy a frying pan. Now look, I'm not saying all modern tools are bad. GPS, maps on our phone, very handy. Delivery, extremely convenient. Streaming, lots of stuff on, very fun. But I believe that there's a line. When these conveniences start replacing skills, you are not in control anymore. You are dependent. And dependence is the opposite of what Gen X was built on. Gen X resistance isn't about living like it's 1989 again. It's about choosing when to use the tools, when to use your brain, your memory, and your grit. Because the more you outsource your thinking, your problem solving, and your independence, the easier you are to control. All right, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you for listening to this episode of Gen X Resistance. If you liked what you heard, tell a friend, maybe even in person. And if you're feeling really rebellious, Go a whole day without asking your phone a single question. Now, how can you reach me? You can email me at genxresistance@gmail.com or leave a message in the link in the show notes. All right, until next time, stay sharp, stay independent, and stay rad, my friends.